This is Women in Music with Gfire podcast, episode number 56 with singer-songwriter Stella Prince. Stella Prince, welcome to my podcast. How are you today?
I'm good. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. Well, let's get to my podcast questions. Was that a dog barking in the background?
I am so sorry. Yes, it was.
All right. Well, hopefully he or she is ready to do the podcast as well. Well, where are you from originally?
Yeah, I'm actually originally from Woodstock, New York. And I was there my entire childhood up until like 6 months ago. And I just moved to Nashville at the beginning of this year.
Oh, wow. Oh, wow. And you've got hippie parents in Woodstock?
Actually, they came with me, believe it or not.
So everybody, the whole family moved down to Nashville.
Yeah. Crazy enough, we all came.
Well, that's very supportive of them.
Yeah, they are incredibly supportive.
Yeah, I think that's really important, to have that support system since you're what, 19?
Yeah, I just turned 19. Yeah, I mean, they had kind of a tough spot because I'm not going to college, and it's like they couldn't just send me off, to a place that I don't know that well, big city, by myself. So they were like, well, I guess we might as well come.
And, once you're established, they could always go back there if they wanted, right?
Right, exactly. That's pretty much their plan. And, we kept our home in Woodstock. And so they plan on going back and forth as often as they can.
See their friends and that sort of thing?
Exactly. And actually, my parents, they're not musicians at all, but they are very artistic and very creative. My mom is a full-time painter and my dad is a creative writer. So they just totally understand the whole creative gene.
That is, you're really fortunate and you can ride the wave. That's great because I think that's what helped Taylor Swift so much was having that family backing.
Exactly. I know it really makes all the difference. It's kind of incredible. I've noticed so much people's success. It almost entirely depends on what their parents are like in a way.
I understand that. What drew you to being a singer-songwriter?
Oh my gosh. I mean, I pretty much knew my entire life that I definitely had to be a singer. I just wasn't really sure what type of singing I would do because I loved Broadway growing up. And I was trained classically. So I had so many different genres that I was madly in love with, not to mention folk music being in Woodstock. So I kind of started writing songs when I was 10 and since then have just never stopped and realized that I really wanted to be a singer-songwriter.
And that's pretty cool though, but you have the Broadway and the opera in the background.
Yeah, it's so funny. I was really into theater and show tunes and all of that. And then, learned so many different kind of Italian operetta type songs. And it really was all over the place.
It's actually a similar background to me. In high school and middle school, I was always in the musical plays.
Yep, exactly. And it was the highlight of my entire life was getting to do those plays.
Which plays were you in?
Oh my gosh, I was in all the let's see, I was in Peter Pan, Grease, Cinderella, all those, kind of elementary school plays. And it was just, I loved it. I really was in heaven.
I mean, and you can always, have that as a side hustle or whatever, just a side fangirl. To just go to see some plays and experience that as an adult as well, even if you are pursuing a career as a singer-songwriter, right?
Right. Oh, and absolutely. And my dad has this massive CD collection that I was obsessed with from the time I was very, very little. And when I was 3, I just was going through it every day, picking out my favorite things and listening to them over and over. And many of them were Broadway records, like Fiddler on the Roof and, just that kind of thing. And I was obsessed with it.
And you wrote your first song when you were 10?
I did, yeah.
And what was it about?
It was actually about my dog that was dying. It's kind of like that, like such intensely, um, you know, emotional experience kind of like drew me to like write my first song. And yeah, it was like the day that we were putting our dog down. It was like the first time that I had experienced such an intense death, and that just really drew me to songwrite for the first time. And I still remember it so well.
And okay, so you definitely started off as a serious singer-songwriter.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And I still feel the same way. Like a lot of people when they hear my music, they're like, why are all your songs about like really sad topics? And I'm concerned. And I'm always like, it's not that I'm like massively depressed, but it's that kind of like situation and experience. That's the thing that gets me to write songs. Like when I'm really, really happy, I don't want to write songs as much.
I like the sad ones. I mean, it's talking about folk, you got murder ballads everywhere. You
Yeah,
can handle it.
it's
There's
really true.
Yeah, there's a lot of folk music that's about sad stuff, so I'm sure you've got a wealth of material to work
Yes.
with. Well, what would be some of your career highlights so far? You said in elementary school, being in the plays and stuff like that. But as a professional now, what would you consider some of your highlights?
Yeah, I mean, there's been, definitely kind of a lot of experiences the past, I'd say 2 years, really kind of coming out of COVID. But one is kind of very recent, and it's really just playing venues that I have dreamed of playing for so many years. Um,
Nice.
like just the things that I kind of grew up, either going to or just knowing about and kind of dreaming of that. And in a few weeks, I'll be playing at, Rockwood Music Hall, The Bitter End, like all of those kind of New York City staples that I have yet to play that I'm really just so excited to debut at. And actually, next week I'll be in Boston, from Nashville, going to Boston and playing at Club Passim, which is where Joan Baez, first got her start. And just, those kind of venues, it really blows my mind to see the amazing artists that have played there before me. It's just incredible.
Well, I think like you, she started pretty young.
Yeah, apparently it's actually funny. She grew up in upstate New York. I think her father was like a professor at Cornell, and a lot of my family members ended up going to Cornell. So I wouldn't have been surprised if they like knew him. And she had like a best friend named Lily who was blonde. I read in her memoir, and that's what I had, like all these like really weird similarities. But yeah, she's one of my biggest inspirations.
Well, she's still around. You might get to meet her one day.
I dream of that so much. Actually, I had the chance to perform with her granddaughter. Just last month, actually, we performed in Nashville together, and she was incredibly gracious.
That's nice. So, you're definitely in the in the perfect town to be in for your stage of your career and everything. And
Yeah,
I think, did you play the Bluebird?
I did. Yeah, that is another just incredible venue that is so like you just get like chills when you're inside.
Yeah, there's just so many talented people that have gone through there.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know, cautionary tales. I don't know if you would have any by now, but
Not quite yet, but
not quite
maybe
yet. Yeah,
in
you
a few
may need a
years.
couple more years on the road before you get some of those.
Come
Well,
back to me in a few years and we'll
yeah,
check in
right. And
with
you'll be
that.
like, oh, yeah, when I was here and this person said this, yeah, something. But, well, cool. Well, the song that was you sent to me is called Two Faced.
Yep.
And tell me a little bit about that song.
Yeah, so this song is probably my favorite release I've ever put out, and it was the first song that I ever recorded in Nashville. I actually just recorded it this past April, and it was my first like major full band recording. It was a lot of firsts to this song, and we recorded it on Music Row, and it was I think with me and five other musicians, and that has been something I have really just wanted to do for so long, and it just changed my whole sound. I feel like it just really took me to that next level.
And some of those musicians have played with other famous musicians, right?
Yeah, actually, Steve Fischel, he ended up playing steel guitar on the song as well as a bunch of my other songs. And yeah, he is mainly Emmylou Harris's lead guitarist. He's an original member of like Emmylou's hot band and is an incredible musician. So yeah, he's one of my favorite people in Nashville.
That's wonderful. Yeah, I love the steel in this song. The steel guitar. I mean, well, here's what I'll say. Let's have listeners listen to Two Faced.
You got her right where you wanted, lonely enough so she'd take the bait, blinded by words that were only an empty promise. Desperation paves way for mistakes. Loneliness is two-faced. You got her backed into a corner, searching for some way to escape. The silent, mournful wind was trying to warn her, whispering, "Get out before it's too late." Well, there's all kinds of empty, but the hardest one to take is lies that seem tempting. Loneliness is two-faced. Well, some paths lead to the horizon before one-way streets become dead ends. Know your escape routes when you find them. It's never too late to start again. Well, there's all kinds of empty, but the hardest one to take is lies that seem tempting. Loneliness is two-faced. Well, there's all kinds of empty, but the hardest one to take is lies that seem tempting. Loneliness is two-faced. Loneliness is two-faced.
Yeah, your voice, it's got a little bit of Dolly Parton in it, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And who are some of your other influences? You said Joan Baez for sure.
Yeah, I mean, all kind of the women of the 70s, to be perfectly honest, like the Carole King and the Joni Mitchell, Joan Baez, Judy Collins, Carly Simon, just all the incredible women of the 70s.
And I guess your dad had all those CDs.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that is pretty much what I grew up listening to. I didn't really start listening to like contemporary pop music until I was in school and, all my friends, knew what was on the radio. But I really grew up with 70s music.
I love that stuff. There's just some classic folk singer-songwriter stuff that just comes out of that crop of singer-songwriters from
Yeah.
the 70s. Yeah. Give me some other stories that you have to, share with our listeners. Just some other musically inspirational things.
Yeah, let's see. There was my single that released this past year before Two Faced was called Closing Doors. And again, that was like a very pivotal recording. It was the first time that I recorded in Woodstock with other musicians. Prior to that, I was kind of just recording by myself, not really sure, what to do. And it was like just me and my guitar. But for Closing Doors, I ended up working with Professor Louis, who was the producer of the band and many Levon Helm records.
Oh,
And
wow.
yeah, he is incredible, and has worked with, I mean, the Grateful Dead and just so many other incredible musicians. And he has a studio in Woodstock, and so he invited me to record the song. And that was just an incredible moment. That was just so cool, and he's always been really supportive. And it's super full circle because next month I'm going to be opening up for him at his show at the Falcon in upstate New York, which is a really cool folk club. And yeah, it's just kind of a super full circle moment, I feel like.
Wow. Of course, Robbie Robertson just passed, right? Do you know him?
Yeah, I heard that actually, and I thought of Professor Louis, just because I know that he worked really closely with the band for many years. So yeah.
Did you ever get to go to like Leon? Didn't Levon Helm have like jam sessions in Woodstock? Am I getting that right?
He did actually. Yeah, you are spot on. He did. And I did go to one actually when I want to say like 4 or 5. Yeah,
Wow.
my parents took me to a lot of stuff like that. I saw Pete Seeger live when I was like 3, and I came up to him after the show and gave him a note that read "I love music," and he like gave me a hug, and just like stuff like that happened a lot. And I think that kind of just all like melted into me and went into my brain, because it was just so pivotal.
And you were like 5 or 6 and you saw Pete Seeger?
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
he was playing the banjo and all?
Yeah, he did a whole show. It was like a benefit for the Hudson River, and it was specifically for like little kids to come and kind of listen. And yeah, I was like 4 years old and just loved it.
Wow. So you got really great musicians at a really young age.
Yeah. I mean, and just going to school in Woodstock, being in Woodstock, everyone's a musician. So you're just kind of around that energy all the time.
And now you're in Nashville, which is kind of the same thing in a different way, but you're going to be surrounded by musicians there as well.
Right. It's so funny. In Nashville, I think there's like 80,000 musicians just in the city, the city center. And yeah, I mean, you just feel that kind of energy everywhere, every little bar, the bartender's a guitarist, and everyone is a guitarist pretty much, like everywhere you go. And that's kind of just, it blows my mind. It's very special.
Have you gotten to like jam with some people in Nashville or even in Woodstock?
Yeah, I have. Oh, yeah. I mean, actually, I'm doing Americana Fest, which is like the big Americana, yeah, festival in Nashville next month, and it's going to be like my first major full band show in Nashville. Performing with a ton of amazing Americana musicians, and that is something that I'm really, really excited about.
Now, is this the same band you used in the studio or a different band?
It's the same band, actually. Yeah. So they were the same musicians to work on Two Faced. And yeah, so it's going to be, but we've never like performed together. We've only done studio work. So I think it's going to be pretty cool.
It sounds pretty cool. Who else is on the bill with you?
Yeah. So it should be. So do you know Paul McDonald?
I don't think so.
He,
What's his
okay. Yeah, he's a really big, fantastic Americana musician and singer, and yeah,
what
he
was his
does
name
this
again?
thing. Paul McDonald.
Paul McDonald. Okay, I'll look him up.
Yeah, no, he's fantastic, and he runs this special showcase that he does every week in Nashville, and that's how I met all these musicians, was through him, because he had his studio time before me, and I met his band and him, and he was like, "Do you want to use my band?" And I was like, "Oh, I guess I could," and it kind of just happened like really randomly, but yeah, it was amazing.
And that was for this Two-Faced.
Yep.
And we haven't actually talked about what Two-Faced is about. I guess I got to bring it back around here.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Well, I feel like Two-Faced is honestly about a lot of things, but specifically about the fact that kind of when you're alone, it kind of draws you in a way. And it's sometimes not for the better, if that makes sense. Like when you're alone, you might really want to start hanging out with people that are not necessarily good for you. But that's just because you're alone. And so it kind of draws you into this negative space when you're feeling really, really lonely. And that's why the kind of hook of the song is loneliness is two-faced.
Right, because you might get in situations you wouldn't ordinarily get into.
Right, exactly.
Have you actually experienced that, or you just kind of felt it?
I kind of just felt it in a way. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of my songs that I have experienced what I'm talking about, but in a way, some of them are also more just about like feeling a certain way, even if I haven't actually experienced the thing, just kind of feeling that way and sometimes putting myself into other people's shoes, I think is a huge part of it.
That's a great talent.
Oh, well, thank you. I mean, every great songwriter I feel like has that ability. It's a special way of kind of being super creative, just like seeing different people's point of view.
Oh, definitely. Well, how about socials? What do you prefer? Are you on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter dash X, whatever it is called, TikTok,
There's a lot of options.
Threads?
Yeah, I'm mainly on like Instagram and Facebook and YouTube. My biggest following is definitely Instagram. It's probably my platform of choice. I'm not really on TikTok. It's just not really my thing. But yeah, and it's the same username everywhere, just Stella Prince Music on every platform. So
Well, that's easy. Now, how many followers do you have on Instagram?
I have about like 22,000, I think.
Okay, and how do you think you got that many followers?
Yeah. I mean, honestly, I started my account at the very, very beginning of COVID, and I was like 15, and I was so frustrated because everyone else that I knew, like all my, competition and all that, had thousands of followers, and I hadn't even started a professional account yet. And I just kind of started very slowly building it up and following different people and, running various ads and trying to figure out the best way to do it. But since then, I've never, worked with, a digital marketer or a team or anything. It's all been very, very organic and kind of just growing steadily in the past few years.
So you did use digital marketing in the beginning. Did it help at all?
No, I actually didn't.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no, I never have. I toyed with the idea of like having a team for it, but I thought, honestly, I feel like a team would be better kind of put in publicity, which is kind of what I've done. And I think it's really worked out really well and just putting out singles and focusing my time on that. And that's really worked.
And how often do you post on Instagram?
Really only like twice a week. Yeah, I
Okay.
don't like do it that often compared to other people. I feel like I don't want to like tire people out and make them sick of me.
I hear you. When people
Yeah.
are talking about, oh, okay, I post every day, and people know when I wash my dog, and
Yeah, right.
at a certain point, you're like, well, I'm not sure
Uh,
I'm that interesting that they need to be
I
part of.
know. That's honestly how I feel.
And then on Facebook, you probably have 5,000 friends or whatever we're allowed to have.
Yeah, I think I have like a page. So I have like 13,000 followers on like my public page. And then I also have like, yeah, a small private account for like friends and family. But yeah, Facebook was kind of like later. I didn't start it right away for some reason. Like, I don't know, but I actually really like it because it has a lot of, I guess an older demographic in a way. And so I can reach like different fans on there as opposed to Instagram. So it kind of balances out.
Yeah, because if you're influenced by all those 70s singer-songwriters, you're going to get some older listeners that really relate to your music.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And at some point, my goal is to really have all generations of fans.
Sort of like Pete Seeger.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, cool. Tell me just one more story of that of inspiration for you, because I'm sure there's things that you don't think about all the time, but that would be really interesting to my listeners.
Ooh, let's see, like how I wrote a song, or like, is there anything in particular?
Well, talk about the process on this song on Two Faced. It was COVID. You were frustrated,
Yeah.
and
This song, yeah, this was actually written. This is funny. This was written like right before I recorded it. So it was written at like in February of 2023.
oh, okay, this
Um,
is post COVID then, basically.
yeah, this is like right after I moved to Nashville, and I was feeling like really alone and very, very nervous about being in Nashville, just like scared and like feeling, concerned that I wouldn't, meet the right people and all of that. And it definitely took a few months to find, where I was supposed to be and the right people. But yeah, that kind of came out of the move, believe it or not. And the song before Two Face, Closing Doors, I ended up writing it in Ireland when I was on tour internationally for the first time last summer. And we stayed in this tiny bed and breakfast that was literally in a cow field, like a cow pasture, like overlooking miles and miles and miles of like just farmland and cows grazing. And it was so beautiful. And I had this tune kind of just stuck in my head. And I took my guitar outside and just sat in like the pasture for an hour and played the tune over and over again. And all the cows came from far and wide and came right up to me and listened the entire time. It was so incredible.
Wow. That's, I mean, I've never tried playing in a field of cows, but, that's that's pretty impressive.
It was a very original experience.
Darn. Okay. Well, how did you get booked in Europe?
I did it all myself. Yeah, I book all my shows myself. I've been doing it for about 4 years. And yeah, every single tour that I've ever done, I, deal with all the planning, the budgeting, the routing, everything, making the posters, like literally every single aspect of my entire career, I do myself. And yeah, with Ireland and the UK, it was really just kind of sending it out to hundreds of venues and got, 7 responses. And that was a tour. But in the beginning, it was very hard to kind of figure out, how do I get people to respond? Because a lot of the time, when you're a 15-year-old singer that doesn't have a lot behind them, people aren't going to respond that much. And so I just had to keep like reaching out and calling and, just making it happen. And it was very hard work. It really was. And it still is, but it ended up being very rewarding because I did get tours out of it.
That's great. And, just being a self-starter like that, that's, again, very inspirational.
Oh, well, thank you. Well, I'm sure you're the same way.
Well, do you have any videos up on YouTube?
Oh yeah, I have tons actually. I haven't done a music video for Two Faced, but I have done two music videos. And my most recent video is for Closing Doors, which just came out a couple of months ago, and it ended up getting on CMT, and a bunch of other kind of cool outlets. So yeah, it's on YouTube if you want to check it out.
Definitely. And who did you use to do the video?
That was through a pretty cool director in Nashville named David Bradley. He does a lot of country artists and like works with the Grand Ole Opry and a lot of stuff like that. But he definitely had a vision, and he's actually from England. And I just tend to love people from England. I don't know why, but I just love their style and their vision. And they I don't know. There's something interesting about the UK and folk music. I feel like they just get it so much. Like their whole country is like folk music is considered mainstream there. You know what I mean?
I do. I mean, my favorite folk singer is from there. Her name is Sandy Denny, if you know who
Oh, I
that
love
is.
her. Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, she's my favorite
Yeah.
all time. So, yeah,
Oh yeah.
I'm a bit of an Anglophile myself.
Yep. I am obsessed with everything England, and I definitely hope to move there later in life.
I'm sure you can make it happen. You've made a lot happen in your young life already, booking European tours and then getting to play all these nice venues. How did you book the bitter end?
Again, same thing, just reaching out, calling them, reaching out and asking if I could perform. And yeah, pretty much literally every single show I've gotten and every opportunity I've gotten has been through, just reaching out and asking and kind of making it happen on my own. Yeah.
Definitely doing that manifestation.
Exactly. That's my whole kind of life right now is just manifesting. Yeah, everything that I really want. And that's what I started doing from the time I was like 4 years old, it was kind of like ingrained, like I am going to be a famous singer, not just like, you know, like really successful. Like that was what I had my heart set on from the time I was 3 or 4. And that's how I've always felt since. Yeah.
Well, I wish you all the best of luck on this journey.
Well, thank you so much. And I really appreciate you taking the time to talk with me. And it was really nice to meet you.
It's nice to meet you too. I'm sorry I can't see your face because of your phone being down, but that's okay. You can see me, right?
I know, I can see you. I'm really sorry about that.
It's not a big deal, not a big deal. So, well, cool. Well, I guess your publicist will keep me informed about all your latest adventures, and this will be out in a couple of months.
Okay, well, I look forward to publicizing it and all of that.
Excellent. All right, Stella. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.